Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Really warm welcome here to this afternoon's Chesterton Eagles Parents' Evening and opportunity to get to know the club and to get to know who we are. My name's Tim Anderson. I'm the acting chair and excited to tell a bit of our story this afternoon, because when I got involved with the club about 10 years ago, first of all, I know nothing about football. I'd never been involved with a football club, and I had no idea what went on in the background. But as my good wife began to get involved with the club, just began to realise that there was a whole host, almost an engine room of activity that went on behind the scenes to make what I would turn up to on a Saturday morning or whenever flow and function like clockwork, and actually was a great experience. So when I got involved with the club and then was invited to be chair a number of years ago, just absolutely love getting to know a whole sway of really interesting, quite incredible, amazing people, this army of parents, and it's actually turned out to be a real buzz. And so it's a real privilege today to be able to share with you a little bit about our story as a club, a bit of our background, and where we'd love to see things to go into the future. So let's just kick into what this afternoon is going to be about then. So this afternoon, I wanted to share a little bit about our vision and values, how we work, some of the future developments, and some of the opportunities that we've got coming up. And we will then have the opportunity at the end for some Q&As. So we established as a club about 22 years ago in 1998, and it's been very much a local club. In fact, you can bump into people that used to play for the team many years ago. In fact, our head coach came through the club. And has been something that's been of a local team for many years. About 10 years ago, the club was in a sort of a process of winding down, really, and there were just two teams left. And it was at that point that there were two key mums, really, Anya Anderson and Tasha Verdmüller, that kind of rocked up onto the scene and just said, how could we'd love our little 8-year-olds to play football, and is it possible to start a team, because there aren't any other teams in Cambridge running at the moment for under 8s. And the answer to the then secretary of the club, Mickey, said, yeah, well, why not? And really from there, from 10 years ago, we've undergone quite a remarkable revival and renewal, if you will, of just parents coming on board to start new teams, and just to see literally, I think we've got over 300 young people, children now involved with playing on the club, and has just become a really thriving enterprise. And that's really because there's an army of managers, of parents, of willing volunteers that are making this thing shine, and something that's really special. And I think over the years we've kind of really begun to develop a little bit about who we are and what's the vision of what we got, why do we exist. And as a club, we're really here to be a place where all our players can experience the joy of playing competitive football whilst developing positive behaviours, relationships and skills that will benefit them for life. And I think that's what really kind of excites me, really, because this is about not just investing or not just winning games on a Saturday, but it's about the development of young people and children with skills and relationships and behaviours that will see them really through for the rest of their lives. And I think this is something the club is really about. And some of the guys recently coming on board have just sort of begun to talk about that we want to prioritise performances and not just winning, but we know as we prioritise performing that we know in the long term it's going to have gains that will outweigh the short-term successes of just a win on this Saturday. We do know winning is fun, but as a club we want to be so much more than just winning and competition, and I feel that runs through who we are as a club. And I think out of that really comes some of our values, which are, as a club, we aim for all our players and through all the different age streams that there's a positivity, a positive, a confident attitude we want to nurture, supportive for all the players and the team, to help encourage the best out of every single person. And that's why some of our teams can be more competitive, others are also just able to be a place where people can really flourish. And important to that is the value of respect, where every person on the pitch or not, players, coaches, referees, supporters, irrespective of ability or background or appearance, find a place of value and respect among us. And that's something that we really take seriously and we want to nurture. Also, just the value of intelligence, to begin to use heads at all times, staying calm and creative under pressure whilst always looking to learn. And that's something that we look to cultivate in all our players. And out of that, a determination to play to win, but to always give their best, whatever the result, and to never give up. They show determination and resolve to improve and give their best, no matter what the situation. And that's what we look to see established. And then probably one of the most important values for us as a club is enjoyment. They must remember that enjoying football, making friends and learning new skills is an absolute must. And actually, as I think about it, those values are also values that we hold within the executive group and really behind the scenes, how we work as a team. And what I love about the club is there genuinely is a positivity. There's a respect for each other's skills and abilities that we bring to the table. The intelligence that's brought, I mean, just going into COVID, like the willingness and the determination to say we will find a way. So, you know, some of the club, some parents were up late nights, you know, writing coding to get us apps and online forms, just bringing best skills and intelligence to create the club what it is. And I just love that energy that we've got right now. And then out of that, just the buzz and the enjoyment that we get out from serving and being part of this club. So those are some values that mean actually mean a lot to us. And it's very much I think a moment for a next generation to arise, because that first team I mentioned, those under 8s, that team is now our under 18s. And I'm aware that as I'm involved with that, and my time in the club will be coming to an end. And it's time now for another generation to arise, to take the club into a whole nother realm and another future, which I feel really excited about. And I'm hoping today's presentation will help pass on a bit of the baton of that. So how do we work as a club? What's kind of behind the scenes in this? Well, we have an executive group which takes the form about 9 of us, I think, where we hold the governance, the oversight, and the development of the club. And around that is our administration. And it was last year, because of the workload, we took on for the first time a paid position with us, which Juliet takes, who I'll share a bit more about later. But we have a secretary role, and also have someone taking care of communications, website, Facebook. We have our head coach, who helps oversee the quality of our coaching and the football as a club. We have the area of finance. The budgets run up, I think, to around about 50 grand turnover a year. So it's not total pocket money that we're playing with, and good governance around that is really, really important for us, as is safeguarding. And that's an area we'll touch on in a bit. And the referees and coaches play a huge role with us. So the referees make up not just FA coaches, so referees that we bring in, but we have a growing army of our own referees, and is a great opportunity in the club for some of the older teams to begin to qualify and have as a bit of a Saturday job to come and ref for the younger teams. And we've got some real great developmental opportunities in the club for that. Our coaches, some are volunteer parents, and then also we pay coaches for coaching services to the club, which I think adds some levels of quality to what we are about. And then we have facilities and development, so a number of grounds that we have, and the whole area of future development for where the club's going. As you can imagine, as an organisation, we've had to go through several evolutions from best being 2 teams to now being 25 teams, and the organisational structures that go behind that have had to grow with us over the time. And so the way we've done that is to devolve power deeper into the club. And so what we now have alongside this this stem, if you will, of administration and enabling, is the 4 areas of football. So the first area is our development, which is right down at the tiny end, and you might be a parent that's just getting involved in the club at this stage. And this is an exciting stage, and it's where we recruit the under 5s and have Saturday training that then begins to form the new team, which then begins to form the future of the club. And this then goes into forming the mini soccer league, which is essentially under 6s through to under 11s. And we have now the mini soccer branch, where we have now developed a chair and a working group for each of the league team zones that we now have. And this we've introduced this about 2 years ago, and I think is working incredibly well. And so we have a number of teams, as you can see there. And then one of the new exciting areas of the club that has emerged over the last couple of years is the whole girls football and soccer side of things. Initially that was 1 team. As you can now see, it's now really beginning to blossom. We've now linked in with some Wildcats funding, a national initiative to introduce girls into football. So Daniel Forster is our champion here, and they're quietly getting on, just seeing more and more aspects and teams growing in this area. And this is actually one of the biggest areas of growth for us as a club, I think, over the next 3 to 5 years, that I think quite seriously could mirror the rest of the mini soccer and Colts leagues that we have. And to point on that, we have the Colts League chair and the managers of the Colts League's teams. We didn't realise how many teams we actually had, and I think Annie was on the phone this week to Juliet, our secretary, and Juliet said, "Do you know now we are up to 25 teams across the club?" So you know the momentum is growing, which is absolutely terrific. And so this is kind of how it looks as the club. So putting some faces to names and positions on this. So under the top execs, we have the development stage and reflection of this, where Anya has been serving with the little ones and creating new teams. So some of you are involved in that process right now. The great Daniel Forster heading up the Girls League and the girls side of the club. The towering Dan Edwards brilliantly has begun to take on the mini soccer wing of the club. With you as parents and other managers, and just so good to see how that side of things is really taking on and flourishing. And then we've got the old school boys, the Simons, the Simon twins, Simon Barber and Simon Gibbs, that head up the Colts League element of the club, which is no small part of what we do. So these are some of the great names and faces that work behind the scenes to help cultivate. And what's really good is that, because as you know, there are key transition points, you know, from when you go from 9v9 to 11v11, and it could be like, oh, how do we prepare for this? Well, there's a lot of acquired knowledge, mainly out of mistakes that have been made, that the older, teams and managers are able to pass on knowledge down teams, to say, yeah, when you're at that point of transition, or a year before that transition, begin to do X, Y, and Z, because it will really save you heartache. Because lots of heartache has been experienced at higher levels. Some people won't listen, but you can acquire wisdom throughout the club, if you will, and it is there. And some of these guys are the guys to be chatting with, and we really encourage sharing good practice across the club. So going back to then a bit of how the back room works, and what's happening here. So we have the club chairman, myself. My role is very much to help sort of, oil the whole thing more globally as a club, chair the exec meetings, do rah-rahs at various times to sort of chivvy everyone on, and to go help everyone feel help when COVID hits, and how we're going to scramble teams for that, recruitment, etc. It's been a great role, and it's a role that I'm looking forward to be handing on to someone to step into that shoes. I've been sharing now, I think, for 7 years, and I think my time is probably coming to an end, and the time for someone to step into that role. But what I tell you, it's very easy with the other chairs in place, chairing the different elements across the leagues, and I think that's a great thing. The club secretary, Juliet, didn't really want a photograph, so she's in gold embossed lettering here. Juliet, she's now, just because of the magnitude of the work of undertaking manager qualification checks, annual registration work, communications, FA and league liaison, it's a huge task. Anya did that in her spare time and was working at 1 o'clock midnight hours. Juliet probably does that as well, but we are now paying, Juliet's are now paid post, or partially paid post, for the work she does. And Juliet, we just want to say thank you for the incredible work you do, actually, and you've been in the shoes for a short period, just over a year, and we really appreciate that. We also have our very own COVID officer in the great Pete Wood, who's taken on a new role, helping us stay safe and on point as a club within this area. And there's a bit of a committee that works with Pete for that. We then have our finance team, the great Nick Tiley, an accountant and finance director from his own background, and we're very grateful for the expertise that he's brought alongside or I think he's our senior treasurer, alongside our treasurer Annie, who does handling all the finance coming through the club, and they report regularly and help us manage this side of the club well. And Annie will be retiring in the new year, and we are recruiting for someone for her new role at this time, which we'll come back to. A picture there of our great head coach, Joe Essenzi, who's really come through the club and brings expertise, and has really also helped us over the COVID time during the online training, and we're so grateful to Joe for his commitment and passion he brings to the club, helping us bring quality and not just quantity. Running through some of the services there, Kevin Myers, who's our senior ref, also kind of helps coach our young referees coming through, and Yamin Hoke is coming on board, helping us with developing some of our younger volunteers coming through the club, with younger refs that we're training up to ref at mini soccer games in particular. And can be a nice little pocket money earner as well, but also a great way for the older kids in the club to give back to some of the younger years as well as role models, something we really champion. And then just really, we then have the facilities, liaison and development side of things. You all know, but behind the scenes, an incredible amount of work goes on at the beginning of every new season to organize the training slots for you at the right ground with the right coach at the right time. And it is an epic job of spreadsheets and trying to take on everybody's preferences. Well, we want to train on Tuesday nights, and we want this coach, and we want to train there. And there's a little team with Juliet and Anya that work tirelessly to try and make this possible for us all. and yet liaising, keeping our various facilities sweet with us and us sweet with them is a big role. Also, a big shout out to Ned Spires, who is our web designer and keeps our website up to date and looking swanky as well. We're grateful to Ned for what he does. And on the safeguarding front, Anya Anderson and Natasha Verdmiller have been our safeguarding officers for a number of years. Again, a key area, not a day-to-day job, but where there are issues. There are times when we do need people on board to help us with our safeguarding, disciplinary issues, safeguarding for children, etc. And it is a key role, actually, and that's an area that we are wanting to recruit some new safeguarding officers. So if you have safeguarding experience, if you're in social work, if you're in teaching, you'll be familiar with some of the requirements required, and could be an area that you could help service with as a club. So something that to be aware of in that. So that's a bit about who we are and how the infrastructure looks and how we're wired. So let me go on now in the last couple of minutes just to explain a bit of our development and a bit about some of the sites and the locations we use as a club. They are varied and they are becoming many to facilitate 25 teams, as you can imagine. So the first ground that we have is Chesterton Community College Sports Ground. Sometimes you know it as Castle School, sometimes you know it as the sports fields, but this is by and large where we in the future are wanting to locate the majority of our Colts League teams. So we have the full size 11v11, we've got a smaller 11v11, I think that's 9v9, and there's some pitch space down here. The pavilion has been built there, and we've got a growing and a good positive relationship with Chesterton Community College. Not so good with Castle School. That's a relationship we're developing, and we're trying not to annoy them too much with our car parking needs. But this is a site that's opened up to us over the last couple of years and has been extremely helpful for us. This is our original Chesterton Eagles ground. It's the Chesterton Rec. Many of you have fond memories here. Of the last couple of years, sadly, due to lack of kind of council funding, the quality of the pitches have been in deterioration, and this is an area of regret, sadness, and concern for us. And as you know, at the moment we're not playing any games here. However, into the future, this is where we would really like to be locating our mini soccer leagues, and it's twinned with a new project which is just literally about to start in the next couple of weeks, with the refurbishment of what we affectionately have called the Tea Hut, which is the small pavilion, which is rather dismal. However, with Kevin Myers on board as our parent architect in collaboration with the local council, we are going to have a brand new pavilion built, which we are in partnership with as a club, and will finally become a pavilion, a home for us as a club for the mini soccer, where you can have a trophy cupboard. There's going to be a brand new kitchen, there's going to be a community room there, brand new changing rooms, and we are really excited about it. So what it does mean is that we're pressing with the council to say, well, it's great having a swanky new pavilion, but if your pitches are naff, then it's no good for anyone. So we are in discussions at the moment to relay with a professional company relay the five-a-side pitch to start having a good turf there, to begin to re-establish the usefulness of this ground for us. So hopefully into next season we will be beginning to have some of the younger teams able to replay again on a new ground, and then we'll put money and finance into the 77 and get grant funding for this, and hopefully to relay this part of the ground as well. So this, for the next generation of you taking this forward, this is where I think the development plan wants to really go for us. And I think, and financially, we've realized that it's more possible, and there's funding pots out there that we can go to, and the Parks and Recs of City Council are open for us coming into discussions around this. So this is our original Chesterton Eagles home ground, and we are in a time at the moment of reclaiming this and reinstituting this for a whole new generation of young players for the club, hopefully into the next 10, 15, 20 years. So that's the Pavilion. And then the other exciting news, breaking news, which we want to share with you this afternoon, is the North Cambridge Academy. Again, a ground we've had some relationship to over the years, but has been a little bit thwart for us in terms of lack of pavilion facilities, etc. But at the moment, we have the 11v11 ground pitches there, which are in use. And I think I think Robin Barton had his own little pitch and own little lawnmowers for a smaller pitch there for a time. But what we do have emerging, which is the breaking news, is that funding is coming online with NCA and are wanting to partner with us as a local football club for a brand new full-size 4G AstroTurf training facility and full-size pitch for full match games and training facilities. This is huge. And it really begins to open up, because NCA's vision is that this becomes a hub of girls football, and which is so exciting, because for Daniel Forster and the whole side of the emerging girls side of Chesterton Eagles feels that this can become the home for your league. So this is a case of watch the space, and this will be coming online hopefully in the next year to 18 months as we progress with this, and are looking forward to how this is going to take place. So this is where we want to see our girls football and some of our training facilities in the future emerging, which will help us grow as a club as we are. And then over the last couple of years, the Eddington football ground has become available to us. And as you know, we've had some mini soccer games, we've had some of our older games up here. Well, this is one of these situations where there's constant development and negotiations going on with the powers that be, because this was laid not with proper sporting turf, but with recreational turf. And very unfortunately, after 1.5 seasons, this ground has become unplayable due to the disquality or lack of quality of the turf that was used. So unfortunately, this ground that had been looked so promising for us is again a ground that we're actually having to retract from. However, if there was someone in the club that has got clout and some capacity, it could be something that we could take up with the university and the council to say, really, this is not good enough, and the whole ground needs to be returfed properly. This could create a new facility or an ongoing facility for us, which would really help. But again, it needs time and commitment from someone to be willing to take the city on to get this reshaped. But that has been a ground, and it could be a ground for us into the future, particularly with the new pavilion facilities that were built, etc., that have been really good. So we have our midweek training grounds and facilities, which is the Chesterton Sports Centre, King's School, the Trumpington ground, which we are able to use sometimes midweek, and NCA. We have some training there on their Astro as well midweek for winter training. But the exciting plans for us are that with this new NCA 4G training ground opening up, it means that in the future, we're hoping that we won't need to lean on places like King's School and Trumpington, but we can bring all our training facility, winter training, into the Chesterton Sports Centre and NCA, bringing it local and having time and space that you can all train on effectively. We know this is a pinch point and a frustration for us at the moment as a club, but we're hoping that these new facilities opening up will give us ease and ability to grow as a club. Great. So really coming to the end of our news, and it's to say, well, how can I get involved? If I could get involved with a club, what could I do? Well, obviously there's the whole groundwork of becoming a manager, of becoming a team administrator alongside your manager, to help with communication and to help with the day-to-day, week-to-week organization. And that is really the driving hub of us as a club. But if you are interested to get involved with the behind the scenes of the global sense of the club, then there are opportunities for you to get involved with our exec group. A good example of this was Daniel Edwards, actually, who wasn't quite sure as a manager. He thought, well, maybe I could get a bit involved, but I'm not quite sure what yet. And so we just invited Dan, and Dan was willing just to come and sit on our exec meetings. And as he did, it then, for example, became really clear in some key areas that he could get involved. And Dan helped us rebrand all our kit, for example, and helped our online shop get established. And so there are ways that just turning up and being in the room can be a way to get involved. It could be that you've heard me talk about our facilities, and you're thinking, well, I could get involved with helping organize and be a liaison for one of our facilities, or to help in some of the new development of the club. Well, there will be a place for you. It could be on the safeguarding. You think, yeah, well, actually, I'm quite keyed up on that whole thing. Yeah, I'd be willing to sit on a board and be on a panel if it's needed at times. Yeah, I could put my hat into the ring on that. Equally, you might have some bookkeeping skills, or you're just an organized person, particularly when it comes to money and finance and spreadsheets. And you're thinking, yeah, I've got 3 hours a week. I could really help with the club with running finance. So I'd love to do that, helping with some banking and online transactions. I'd love to get involved with Nick and be part of our finance team. Well, this is a very real role that we are recruiting for actively at the moment. And if you know someone in the club, or you could be on board with us on this, then we do have the job spec available for that, which I don't know whether Annie might be able to share that in the group chat. But you can get that on an email from us, and we would love to hear from you. Either Nick or myself would love to hear from you on that.